broadcaster and journalist Henry Winter joins us now live. Always lovely to see you, Henry. Let's start with the subject of the fans' fury then, because as Alan was saying there, it's been mixed emotions from Merseyside. We saw the loyalty or lolly posters as well popping up. You know, what do you make of it? What would you say to those fans who are furious with him leaving the club?
Well, he's going to the best club in the world, in Real Madrid, and all fans, and this is the inherent tension between being a fan and being a professional footballer, is that all fans think that their club is the best club in the world. Liverpool fans think their club is the best in the world. They're in love with their club. So you can understand they're going to be emotional. I'm sure there's an element of the emotional is a frustration that they're not getting a fee for Trent Alexander-Arnold, but maybe the club could have done more in terms of offering him or getting him to sign a longer contract earlier, but that was difficult because the moment Real Madrid show their interest, I mean, you know, he's not going to Real Mallorca, he's not going to another club in this country where you could understand even more anger. He's going to Real Madrid, and you look at the way that Real Madrid play, and he's a player who obviously everyone is focused on money, but he will focus very much on the football, the glory, the Champions League potential at a club like Real Madrid, who've won it 15 times already. And he will look at the way the team plays. Xabi Alonso, former Liverpool player, could be going into Real Madrid as coach, and he can just imagine himself. I've not talked to him, I've not talked to anyone around him, but you can just see him slotting into that Real Madrid team, playing those 60-yard passes to Vinicius Jr., to Kylian Mbappe, to all this talent they've got up front, and just doing amazing things at the biggest club in the world. But of course, Liverpool fans, many Liverpool fans will think, you know, they all think their club is the biggest club in the world, and why leave? Particularly now when the club's doing so well again.
Yeah, absolutely, they do. And some of them have made their voices very clear, haven't they? What sort of message do you think that fury, though, sends to perhaps other players who are coming through the youth system at Liverpool?
Well, I think first and foremost, they'll look at Trent Alexander-Arnold and think, what a role model. You know, he's been there 20 years. He's won, as you were saying, all the trophies that he's won. He's won the Champions League. He's won the Premier League twice. He's won the FA Cup. He's won the League Cup. You know, he's been absolutely outstanding. But I think they'll also will see a player. I mean, this was the Leicester game here. I was at this game. And first, it was such an important goal for Liverpool in terms of the title pursuit, but also you could just see his emotion. He's running to the corner here to where the Liverpool fans are, and you can see that is not the reaction of a mercenary. That is the reaction of someone who cares deeply about Liverpool Football Club, who grew up as a Liverpool fan, who will always be a Liverpool fan now and in the future, even when he's playing at Real Madrid. And you know, he still has that connection. It's so hard. We've seen it so many times with players leaving clubs. It's really hard to leave clubs with an element of dignity and with an element of respect. And I actually think Trent Alexander-Arnold has really tried to do that. You saw in the video that you played at the top of your show, the emotion with which Trent was speaking, you know, just a sort of deep intake of breath as he sat down and went, okay. And then there was a bit, you know, when he almost seemed sort of close to tears. So this is a huge decision because there is part of him that's a fan, but there's also a huge part of him at 26 who just sees the challenge of going abroad. And also, we can't underestimate this because, you know, I've covered England and you see his relationship with Jude Bellingham when they're training together. They're always playing like little mini rondos together, knocking the ball to each other. They're smiling together, you know, and Jude Bellingham is there. So that has to be an attraction as well. So coming back to your point, you know, the fury just shows the sort of the depth of the emotion and also the fact that they're losing a good player. But the history of Liverpool Football Club, every decade, probably every year, you know, they lose players, but someone else steps in. I mean, I can remember, you know, just the huge almost trauma when Kevin Keegan left him. What was it, 77? Kenny Dalglish came in and he scored the winning goal in the European Cup final within, 8-9 months? So, you know, no one is bigger than Liverpool Football Club.
No, I hear you on that. I think it's the kind of the local lad aspect, isn't it, for them more than anything. Do you think in any way that Liverpool, the club, could have helped this and kind of helped Trent in this decision? Could they have handled it better, do you think? You know, in terms of the fact that he's going on a free and all those sorts of things.
Well, first we have to make a difference between fury online and fury actually amongst the match-going fans. And I hope he does have a chance to play. And I think they've got 2 remaining home games. And there is an element of, listen, we're frustrated. One of our own is leaving, but let's just give him a good send-off and also send a message out, not simply to the young players coming through the academy, as you mentioned, but potential players who are thinking of coming into the club to know that actually they've got quite a classy bunch of supporters who back players even when they're leaving. Could Liverpool have handled it better? It's very difficult. When Real Madrid come calling, you can talk to any executive at any club, any manager in this country, and once Real Madrid come calling, it's impossible really to say no.
Yeah, you talked about the fact that, he'll be playing alongside the likes of Vinny Jr. and kind of pinging in these balls, which is quite worrying, perhaps for anyone else playing in the Champions League next season. But do you think his style of football is better suited to playing in Real Madrid's team?
Well, I mean, he's done well in Liverpool's team. Look at the trophies he's won. People talk about his defensive issues. At least he's going to be playing with Vinicius Jr. rather than against him, because we saw what Vinny Jr. did to him in the Champions League final in Paris. Look, he is a fantastic player. He's the way that Real Madrid play and the league that they play in. Obviously, they've got Barcelona and other teams. They are the rivals, but he's going to be seeing a lot of the ball, and they like their attacking fullbacks. And if it is Xabi Alonso who comes in, then you can just see him, developing even more. And look, it's a huge loss to the Premier League, but from England's perspective, he'll be playing probably less football. They might even have a winter break over in Madrid, which will help him. But it's going to be interesting to see in terms of the timing of departure, because his contract will expire on the 30th of June, which is 2 weeks into the Club World Cup, where Real Madrid will be out there. So whether there's some deal that the two parties can do to actually get him out there earlier. But no, look, Real Madrid, honestly, playing in that stadium, you've been there, Vicky, you know what an amazing stadium it is, the revamped Bernabeu, the passion of those fans, that's impossible to turn down.
I would agree with that. Look, you also, let's put your England hat on, because you mentioned it there. Do you think we'll see a difference in the way that he's perhaps perceived as an England player as well once he goes to Real Madrid, if he goes to Real Madrid, I have to say, because over the last few years, he's been kind of vilified for his defensive frailties, perhaps, should we say. Do you think we'll see a difference? Do we see a sea change there?
It's a really good point, and I hope what we see with the treatment of Trent Alexander-Arnold is, let's focus on his positives. Let's focus on his match winning. The quick thinking corner in 2019 against Lionel Messi's Barcelona, which was absolutely decisive in terms of getting them Liverpool through to the final. Just the positives that he brings. Was it 83 assists in 352 games for Liverpool? That's phenomenal as a fullback. The dead ball ability he's got. So, yeah, I think we'll see him. I think he'll be properly appreciated as one of the best players in the world, which is what he is. I mean, I've been covering him for 35 years, almost back to a sort of black and white era. And honestly, he's one of the best passers, truest passers of a ball, along with the likes of Paul Scholes and Glenn Hoddle, that I have seen. And we should cherish such talents. Obviously, there's some defensive issues he's going to have to work on. And Arne Slot did talk to him about them early in the season. But, he's fantastic. If you've got a Ferrari, drive it and drive it fast.
Oh, yes, I would, if I indeed could afford it. Look, let's talk about the Ballon d'Or, because I was lucky enough to speak to a Spanish journalist, and I said, if we're looking into the future and I'm talking to you in a couple of years' time, will we be talking about Trent Alexander-Arnold, the Ballon d'Or winner? He said no, immediately. What do you think?
It's a bit difficult to talk about because I've got the English vote. What I would say generally is that he is just talking to journalists around the world, talking to journalists in this country, how admired he is and what a special player he is. And what is going to be interesting heading towards the World Cup is where Thomas Tuchel plays him, because England have got a lot of talent right back. And I just hope we see him there. And you can just see there in this picture here, with the teammates, they'll miss him. They'll miss him as a player. They'll miss him as a sort of just a really likable guy. I'm sure you've interviewed him, and he's just a genuine kid. He does a lot of work for the community, but he has to make this decision for himself now. And look, as he says, it's a hard decision, but he has to go. Look, he's even got teammates filming him because they know what a good player is. So look, coming back to your point, I'm only half sort of dodging it a little bit. He is a special player, and he's respected around the world.
Yeah, I've been lucky enough to sit alongside him and interview him, and he is, like you say, an incredible human being as well, and an intelligent one as well. Again, talking to the Spanish journalist, I think it was more about him when he interviews him, saying that he has to adapt to the culture in Spain quickly and learn the language. Would you agree with that, Henry? Is that something that you've witnessed our British players do before?
Totally. Not all of them have done it before, but when they go abroad, I mean, Harry Kane has spoken about it, but you talk to German journalists and they say, fantastic what Harry Kane has done at Bayern Munich, now a champion, but actually he needs to learn a little bit more of the language. Look, it's really important on a practical level of actually sort of settling into a country quickly, absorbing the culture, and I'm sure Trent Alexander-Arnold will. I mean, you see how Jude Bellingham handles himself in press conference with the Spanish media. He talks in Spanish. I think he probably speaks fluent German as well, having been out at Dortmund. So absolutely, and it wouldn't completely surprise me, but I'm guessing here if he hasn't been taking discreet Spanish lessons already.